Welcome back to Patty's Aquatics, folks. In this video, I'm going to be doing another tank tour in my series. I started with my 29-gallon Endler tank and my 75-gallon puffer tank upstairs. So I want you guys to go back, give those a look, hit that subscribe button if you already haven't, and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss anything. But in this one, we're going to be doing a tour of my 29-gallon Neolamprogolus Caudopunctatus tank. These are African shell dwellers. So if you're ready, let's get it on here at Patty's Aquatics. These are the Neolamprogolus Caudopunctatus, nicknamed the Caudopunk or the Punk. They're from Lake Tanganyika. They're an African shell dweller. They're also a rock dweller. They breed in rock caves and in the shells both, not just exclusively in the shells. They're a pretty cool fish. I got 6 of them about a year ago at a local swap meet, and they wound up pairing off into 3 pairs. They're very difficult to sex, but I'll get into that more later. But you're not here to see my face, you're here to see the fish. So let's take a deep dive into these guys. Since this is a tank tour, how about we go over the components that makes this fish tank run? First, let's start with the aquarium co-op sponge filter that I have in this tank. This is the only tank in my fish room here that runs filtration. I used to have them in every tank till I took them out. And by the way, speaking of that, how about you go back if you haven't seen it and check out one of my older videos, my filterless fish room, how and why. And I'll explain exactly why this is the only tank in my fish room here that has filtration yet. But this aquarium co-op sponge filter is the favorite type of sponge filter I could find when I was using them. It has a coarse sponge, which is great. I highly recommend it if you're into a sponge filter, and it has a weighted base, which also helps because sometimes with those other cheaper brand ones I would get, they would float. You'd have to put rocks on them for a while until they got saturated enough to stay at the bottom, where these do not do that. Aquarium co-op sponge filter, recommend highly. And then secondly in here is, again, aquarium co-op heater. This is the 100-watt heater. I love these heaters. I have them in numerous tanks down here in my fish room. I briefly touched on it in my, again, past video, 29-gallon Endler tour. I would check that one out as well if you would like. These heaters are great. They have a control for the temperature on the outside of the tank, so you don't have to get your hands wet sticking them in, trying to regulate the temperature till you get it right. It also has the LED screen on it, so you're able to see from outside the tank what the temperature is. And I love the look of them. I highly recommend them as well. I've had no issues, and I think they're great. As far as lighting, I have an Aquaneat light that I got off of Amazon. All my other tanks down here have a different light, one that I bought and created some stuff with it, which I will show in a future video. I just didn't need it on this tank because I don't grow live plants in here besides the duckweed on the top to help control the nitrates. And I really didn't need an overly bright light for this tank in my opinion, so I didn't go with my other lights. So that's why I stuck with this one, and that's my lighting. Now, like I said earlier, these fish are rock and shell dwellers. So it is very important to have rocks and some kind of rock structure within your tank if you're going to keep these. They use them not only with the shells, but they use them to make caves, areas for them to breed when they pair up. So that's very important to have. Then I also have the shells littered upon the bottom of the substrate. And then now speaking of substrate, in my opinion, it's probably good to have sand with these guys. Now I have pool filter sand here, which you can get pretty cheap at your local Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's. And I put quite a bit of it in there because they do like to move it around quite a bit. And I wanted to not have just a thin layer. So pool filter sand or whatever type of sand you like. But definitely go with sand because it's definitely going to help them. The appearance of this fish, in my opinion, is just phenomenal. Start off with that silvery body and then down to its speckled spotted tail. And by the way, that's where it gets its name, Caudopunctatus. That means spotted tail. And then the blue eyes that just stick out, but the thing that sticks out the most is that dorsal fin. That yellow punk rock, mohawk looking dorsal fin. That thing just makes this fish pop, especially in a tank when they start flaring up or going around. Those things stick out more than anything and just makes this fish one of the most phenomenal fish that I own. Not only is its appearance phenomenal, so is its temperament. Now, this is obviously a cichlid, so they will give chase and nip, protect their territories, but they don't damage each other's fins or tails. I've never seen it anywhere in my fish in this tank. And I have read that they can be included in community tanks as far as like African cichlid type fish to put together. Now, I never put one of them together, but I could see that if you have a large enough tank to be able to give them their area and shells and cave area for them to be able to do that. As far as sexing this fish, that's where it can get difficult. The only real difference between the two that I can find and read about is the size difference. Males get about 3.5 inches long compared to the females 2.5 inches long. They say males can be more brightly, intensely colored. I don't really see that with mine. The only real way I can tell the difference between the two is the size and then who's guarding the eggs in the fry. Speaking of breeding, this is how it works. The female is going to find a place where she's going to drop her eggs, whether that be in the shell or in a cave that she created. Then she's going to invite the male in to fertilize the eggs. Then after he's done doing his business, she covers it all up with sand. And it sits there for about 3 to 4 days and the eggs hatch. And then the female will uncover the sand off the fry and then they'll be free swimming. Speaking of breeding, like I stated earlier, I got 6 of these initially and they all broke off into 3 pairs. Now, the first pair that started to breed was about a couple months after I initially got them, and the female pretty much turned into the tank boss of the tank, and she breeds in this first shell right in front of the sponge filter, has been breeding in there ever since. She had probably about 3 or 4 clutches of babies to begin with. They would all disappear. Then all of a sudden I'd have like 1 survive, and then it was like 5. Then it started to be more. And then all of a sudden, the other 2 pairs started to breed as well. And now, as you can see, my tank is full of all different generations of babies and fry. I guess in closing, if you're thinking about getting an African shell dweller, I definitely would give this fish a look. Again, the Neolamprogolus Caudopunctatus, or the Caudopunk. Definitely a cool fish, awesome looks, and it's more than just a shell dweller. I hope you liked this video and I hope you learned a little something about the Caudopunks. Now, if you liked the video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and that notification bell because like I said before, you don't want to miss anything. I got a lot of content coming out. I'm going to be trying to put out a video each week and then shorts all in between. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.